Welcome everybody to another episode of Grind My Gears. I'm Ashton Dari, and I'm here today with crew Joey de Los Reyes. But
Oh, you got
before
the
we,
name right.
yeah, I got it right, huh? Before we get started, though, head over to AshtonDariMMA.com and pick up your gear. Support the cause. Beautiful looking stuff. I just got the muscle tees in. Gyms are opening. Show off those arms before they get jacked. So get your stuff. Use discount code Brown Privilege to get yourself 10% off. Hey, with a last name like that, how did you not pick up girls in high school?
Yeah, actually, Los Reyes means of the king. So I try to play off the prince thing a lot. You know what I mean? I was an immigrant from another country, and you got to come with me. I'm the prince, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes I scored, sometimes I didn't.
Wow,
Pretty cool.
shit, it's better than my last. My last name is foreign as hell. People just think I'm fresh out of India. But last time I saw you, you just had that surgery with your arm.
Yeah, I had reattached my shoulder. I torn the labrum. I had a labral tear and everything, so I just reattached it. So
It's all good now.
well, relatively. I hide it a lot when I'm grappling. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I
And
had.
it's funny because when it comes to training and stuff like that, your weakness will always be exposed, man.
Obvious,
So
yeah.
I have to do a good job of hiding it.
I've had that. I did that surgery a long time ago, back when I was playing football, and it was successful. The only thing I noticed is that this joint, like my right shoulder, is super tight now, which,
Yes.
which in for my jujitsu is a really good thing because I like the underhook on that side.
Hmm.
So if anybody wants to know my secrets, that's. But it's bad because if you get caught in a joint lock,
Yes.
there's no wiggle room there anymore. As opposed to my left shoulder, you can wrench on that is
Yeah,
good,
yeah, yeah.
but the right after the labrum, it's
Yeah.
none of that anymore.
I know
But
you've had quite a few surgeries, man. You're like the $1 million man.
brown people weren't meant for professional fight.
Southeast Asians, man, we're kind of like we're the lowest on the gene pool. We're soft. I'm joking.
I'm my parents are Guyanese. That's the low.
Ah,
That's the low. If you've ever been to Guyana, they don't even have athletic fields there because no one does anything. We're known for playing dominoes and driving Ubers. Um,
bones, man, bones. I love playing bones, man. That's good.
but
That's good.
it's great to talk to you. It's great to see you again. It's nice to
Likewise.
know. It's nice to know that you're still around, based on all the crap that's happening.
Still
And
surviving, man. Still
and
surviving.
and like for people who don't know, Crew Joey's been in the game. I think your gym's been like around 20 years plus.
Yeah, 20 plus years. I've been playing around with martial arts for about 30 plus years.
Yeah,
So we're reaching a Mississauga. We're really lucky to service a community with martial arts.
yeah. And one of the beautiful things about you is like it's not just you know how like a lot of instructors are like a single martial art. You're one of the very few that really takes that risk and dives into a whole bunch of other arts. Like I know you do a lot of jujitsu, you do a lot of Kali and the Filipino, the fighting and Krav Maga as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm lucky that I train I love all martial arts. I may not like their applicability when it comes to real combat, but I do appreciate movement. I appreciate athletics and stuff like that. So I've done like boxing, Muay Thai, Sabat, Junfan, Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's martial art, the Filipino martial arts. Krav Maga has been my latest fixation. I've been doing defensive tactics for law enforcement training, and I'm still currently training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo. I picked up Judo recently. Probably not really a good art for an old guy, but I like Judo a lot. It's been really, really cool. And I picked up Judo to kind of accentuate my Muay Thai clinching to
Yeah.
see what it could offer to me in that respect. So I love all aspects of martial arts. I really do.
Well, that's a rare thing because like nowadays, and I find this with certain arts, not necessarily. I don't want to pick on jujitsu because I'm a jujitsu guy, but I find there's a lot of ignorance towards other art. Like my art is better than the other one. I have a black belt. If you don't know jujitsu, you don't know like there's this kind of thing. Not everybody. I don't want to generalize it too much.
Right, right,
There's a
right.
few of them out there, and I find it's kind of stupid because like if you look at this last weekend, the UFC karate was on display with Wonder Boy. Like
Yeah.
even though he lost the fight, that was he has like him a couple other guys in terms of karate. Even Conor McGregor has a sort of karate style stance when he
Right.
fights, and so there's these applicabilities from these other arts that some instructors kind of just throw aside because jujitsu came to the forefront and in martial arts, and
Mhm.
I feel like it's unfair. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the whole kata and all that kind of stuff that some of the arts do, but
Right. Right.
in terms of their applicable, like if you can get karate footwork down, taekwondo footwork down, you're a very dangerous stand-up fighter,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah. So like two things there. Like it's karate was so respected in that particular match. Like look at Gilbert. Like people were booing him because they said it was a boring match. It was a boring fight and everything,
It
right? Or
wasn't.
maybe
I
you
found
like
it
him. I
great.
don't know. But you and I know in a technical background, it's like, dude, he did the right thing because do you really want to stand up long time with Wonder Boy and let him find out his timing, gauge his distance and everything? That would be erroneous on his behalf, right? So he
Exactly.
played his cards right despite what people want to see like this all the time. It's just not going to happen that way. Even though as a technician, he did the right stuff, right? And and even like on the ground with Gilbert's pedigree in martial arts, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, it was quite challenging to keep him down sometimes. So it was really
Yes.
good to see that. And then secondly, too, Bruce Lee talks about this too. It truly is the man that makes the martial arts. It really does. And the good thing about martial arts is everyone believes their martial art is the best.
Yes.
And like we can see it like maybe in like in UFC and maybe some street altercations, which martial arts lend themselves better to competition or self defense, right?
Yeah.
Argumentatively, right? But like, listen, I came from an old days where Kyokushinkai karate guys, when they got their hands on you and they spar with you, it hurt. And
Yeah.
they're a traditional martial art, and they put a whooping on us, right?
Well,
Judo
they
guy,
did a lot of bare knuckle stuff, like a lot of the
yeah,
stuff bare
yeah, the
knuckles.
judo
So
guy, he would make the plan at his friend and slam you into the ground, right?
yeah,
So some of these old school karate guys and judo practitioner guys, they're no joke, right?
yeah.
They may be traditional martial arts per se, but at times it's the man that brings out the martial arts. It really, really
It's the
exemplifies that
style.
particular style. Yes,
Yes.
he makes it work for him. So that's what I love about martial arts. People argue what's the best martial art here and there. I truly believe it's honestly it comes down to the man himself.
Yeah. And
However, knowing that some martial arts do lend themselves with training methodologies to be fast tracked or more applicable when it comes to competition and self
yeah.
defense.
Well, and it's a good point. And like when I train some of my clients and they're relatively new into kickboxing, boxing, and they're just getting into it. These are like professionals. They're not like martial artists. They work office jobs. They work
Right, right.
CEO,
White
white
collar martial
collar
arts.
CEOs. They want to get fit, but then they see how hard it is, and they're like, "Wow, this is like." They're the kind of personality once they gravitate toward difficulty, right? So like, "Wow, that's a hard word. I want to learn that." And one of the things I always tell them is, "I will instruct you and teach you the technical right way." But at a certain point in time, at a certain level, this is why it's called martial arts. I want you to be creative. So like I'm not going to teach you how Dominic Cruz fights because that's totally technically wrong, right? But the
Yeah,
reason it works is because it works for his body. So you learn the
right.
technical way, you learn how to turn your punches, you learn how to torque, you learn how to throw the hook, you learn how to turn your hips on the kick. And then when you start getting comfortable and you maybe want to spar and stuff like that, then you can make it your own and make it your style. Like you might get hit in your face once
Yeah,
in a while, but it's your creation, right? I give you the technical ability, the technical instruction of how to throw the punch. But like if you look at a guy like Dominic, he's moving all over the place. It seems like he's not throwing a technical punch. It's a very technical punch, but it's just adapted to his style. So it's a I, and
yeah,
my
yeah.
you understand what I'm saying? You
Yeah, I
teach it.
totally get it. It's like I get some students that watch boxers. They'll watch a boxer and they go, he's not pivoting, he's not planted. I go, he's at that level where everything is on such a minuscule level.
Yeah.
You would have to really slow it down, see him pivot. You see his core contracting. Everything is working in unison, and he's put in that deep work,
Yes.
like you and I are discussing. It's that deep work you put in so many reps and time, and you start to figure things out for yourself. Like, and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is a great example of this. Like,
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was doing some Brazilian Jiu Jitsu this morning, some leg locks and stuff like that. And the way we got into the leg locks was like really convoluted. And I go, who the hell figures out this stuff? Who the hell has time for
Yeah.
this stuff? Like, it's not like someone's at home, they grab their wife and go, honey, I just had an epiphany of how to get into a leg lock. Stand here over me with your legs wide apart, and I'm gonna jump between your legs and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think that's beautiful because like that's the deep work. And then like when a student gets into it and they get into that deep creativity, that deep dive,
Yeah.
Sometimes that student will do something that's wrong, and they teach us a new way of doing something. I go, whoa,
Exactly.
wait a minute, that could actually work. That actually can work.
Yeah.
So in that case, the student can actually kind of like be the teacher because they actually do things wrong, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Well,
It's pretty
it's
cool
wrong, but
that
it
way.
works for their body type, right?
Yeah. And we record that as data. And go, we find another long, lanky guy that's a left-handed person, that's redhead, that does this.
Yeah.
We're gonna use that same technique for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool about that creativity. It's so pretty amazing about martial art.
That's why I love what we do. But
Yeah, man,
I
it's really
wanted
great.
I wanted to ask you, with all this shit that's gone on over the last, what was it, 18 months?
16 months or something like that.
Whatever that.
Yeah.
The shutdowns, all that stuff. Like, your club being such an established club in Ontario, in Canada, how did you guys do in terms of how did you manage the shutdowns? How did you manage to keep your doors open coming out of this now that we're going to be opening up soon and still be able to serve your students and that martial arts community during this difficult time?
You know, it's a really good question because like we're really fortunate we've been around for such a long time.
Yeah.
But I was reminded recently, Warrior Fight Store put out a really good comment about this on Facebook. We've been around for 20 plus years. It could take one night to destroy us. In this
Yeah.
case, it took about almost 16 months to destroy us. So in long and short, like we had depleted a lot of our funds because just to stay afloat to pay our rent because our
Yeah.
landlord wasn't helping us one bit.
Yes, that's
And our rent is in the five figures. So we were paying that on a monthly basis.
you have a
We
huge
didn't really
facility,
care.
right? You have
Yeah, exactly. And then it's a 13,000 square foot facility, still to pay our utilities, et cetera, et cetera. The government helped us later when all that money was gone. So when all that money was gone, and then meeting with MPPs, which we'll discuss later on,
Yeah.
and voicing our concerns, they actually started to help us. But it's like unlike what the public thinks, it was very very small. So
Yeah.
it was 60% of your rent before TMI, and he usually gave us a month later. They gave us the rent a month later.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing for some of my clients who also have businesses.
Yeah,
They would apply for it, but they would probably be on the hook for like 2 months rent, and then they would get a big chunk
correct.
one time.
Correct.
Yeah.
So most schools I know would pay their rent on their line of credit or credit cards, personal credit cards, and hope that the government would give them that money. They would get that money, pay off their credit card line of credit. I guess the government never heard of interest, et cetera, et cetera. And then we would just suffer from that. We were lucky that we're able to also apply for loans. So loans did help us out, and then we have to pay that obviously back at the end
Yeah.
of 2022. So it's been a real struggle. Some members still paid us,
Yeah.
which was amazing, even though our place wasn't open. That's the good faith we have in our community. But our government doesn't understand. We have to give back that service.
Yes.
So we took their money. We didn't offer them anything. And now that our doors are opening, we actually have to give back that service.
Yes.
So we're not going to be making that money. We owe them. We banked their money, so to speak.
Yeah.
We were lucky that we pivoted. We were one of the first clubs to pivot to online training, to online teaching.
Yeah.
But it's not for everyone. Not a
No.
lot of people like it. People want to come inside and be around people. Part of their mental health and mental well-being is being able to converse with someone and be
Yes.
around someone. You're a great coach, Ashton.
Yeah.
You understand this as a coach. There's a time when a person comes to you for technical skills and maybe building confidence or whatever, and they begin to be your friends. When
Yeah.
you start now talking about their personal issues, they become part of your family.
Well, all
And
all my clients are my friends.
yeah,
Everyone I work with are my friend, and I mean I don't do any coaching coursing yet, but when I do, it's in the future.
mhm,
One of the first things I ask somebody when I see them is, how are you doing today? I ask them how work is going. Um, I almost know everything that's going on in all of their lives. And like our training session, to me, sometimes I train people and I finish and I'm like, shit, did we even train? Because the conversation was so good between sets, in between reps, or in between rounds. If we're doing, it was
yeah,
so good. It doesn't even seem like we were training, but we were training hard. They're dead, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Jesus, that was a
right,
pleasant hour of conversation with someone. I get to catch up on their life, and it,
exactly.
yeah, and
And a lot of
that's
people like
important.
they don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand like it's not just going to the gym and looking sexy, having sexy abs and big arms and everything. there's a whole culture that comes with it that it makes you feel really, really good. And you're developing rapport with other people who are on a common path to get better, to
Yeah.
improve their lives, right? And obviously, we see that physical manifestation. They look great, they look sexy, yada, yada, yada. But also, too, there's an aura of confidence and self resilience, toughness that comes out of the gym that we need nowadays. And like I just felt that during this time, the government was doing their best to squash those ideas and to kind of like destroy the morale of the general population. So like we were able to pivot to actually teach like a lot of classes online, but it was nothing. It barely did nothing to support the school.
So it's not the same. Like I did early on in the pandemic, I had torn my Achilles, so I had to pivot my whole.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Pivot my whole business to a lot of virtual training. Now I did a lot of virtual training, but I also don't give a shit. I work hard. I have a family to support, so I was wheeling my ass to people to my appointments, scooting downstairs on my butt with my crutches to still do it. But there's a big difference between the online training and in person, being that it doesn't captivate the attention of some people.
Yeah.
Some people find it really, like the first couple, they're like, okay, whatever, but they find it boring. It's still like just working out almost on your own with someone staring at you in the screen, correcting you. For some people who are more introverted and they like to stay at home and that it works out great, it's another option that from this pandemic has kind of will stay. But for the most part, what I find is unless time is a factor and convenience is a factor for some people, they don't really gravitate long term towards virtual training. It's not a great learning tool, especially for martial arts. And for fitness, it doesn't give, like general fitness, it doesn't give the instructor the ability to actually, like, I have to rely on, be like, turn your screen, right? In the middle of a squat. Like, if you're in the middle of a squat and I need to, if we're in person, I can go from the side to and see what's going on with your hips or what to correct you. But if I'm on the screen, I don't fucking know. I have to ask you to turn your screen and turn your body, and even then,
move that TV to the side. Pick up your 4-year-old, push him off to the side. You know what's going on there. I agree with you totally. You're right, Ashton. And also too, like there's a lot of small movements in martial arts that will be missed on the screen. Like that's why you see in stunt work. I train a lot of stunt guys. Example of stunt work. When you see stunt guys doing things, as you and I as technicians go, that's BS. That doesn't really work. Yeah. But the reason why it's so big and wide is so that the screen can pick up, the camera can pick up those wide motions. Yeah. If we did things really fast, no one would see all those small nuances, those small moves. Like look how complicated some of the moves are in jiu-jitsu or in the Filipino martial arts. They're really small and really like there's small nuances to it that get missed on the screen.
Well, that's why on the screen you never see them parry, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was teaching like defense on the screen, and it's a nightmare, right? You're not getting that particular energy from the instructor. Yeah. I'm teaching one of my students in Colorado, Filipino martial arts, and I'm going to swing a stick at your head. Here's a stick at your head, and I need you to block. And it's really challenging because he's trying to block this imaginary stick in the air and do these techniques. It's not really the best scenario, to be honest.
And it's frustrating for the instructor, too. I can imagine, like, after a while, too.
Yeah.
Like, especially if like, say you do fitness classes, a lot of the instructors pick up the energy from the students, like, while they're doing it. So to just be staring at the screen constantly and seeing all these little blips on Zoom, different cameras.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like, say you're having, let's say as an instructor, you're having one of the, like all instructors have a day where you're not particularly energetic. Mm-hmm. It's hard to convert that energy into something positive and convey it over the screen when you're having a tired day, right? Whereas when you're in person, you'll see your students, you'll feed off their end because they're enthusiastic, they want to train, and you're just like, oh, fuck it, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, and you know your students so well, Ashton. Like you walk around to the student and go, hey, John, how you doing? How's the kids? Come on, let's push harder. You walk to another student. Yeah, that's good technique, man. That's really good. You're really improving a lot. It's kind of hard to like do that on the screen. You're kind of like this going, hey, what's going on there, John? Like, are you still alive? Like,
why's your screen black?
Yeah, did you go to the fridge? What's going on here, right? I can't see you anymore. Yeah. But here in person, we really have that energy going back and forth, and we feed off that energy. Yeah. Like you said, like you could come in on a low, and your students, like, when you see your students are there, they're excited to see you. They're like, here, I'm here to like learn from Ashton, and like, that's amazing. And then you start to feed off each other, and it's really hard to convey that on the screen. It's
Yeah,
tough.
100%. The other thing I wanted to get to is because you're such an OG in the community, you've been around for so long. You're one. Normally, when things are in motion in terms of the martial arts community, you're at the forefront of the information. You're you're an OG. Put it that way. For those
Thanks,
who don't
man.
know, for those who know, OG means original gangster, right? But I know that you've had some meetings with some MPs and members of parliament and different people in the government to lobby for us to get back open, that we were safe, that martial arts studios and other businesses like us were ready and safe to be open. How did those conversations go with them? Were they like open and wanting to get us back into business, or was it just like, hey, the science says that you guys are danger, so sorry?
Like, first and foremost, I was really lucky that in my community, I have a lot of students and instructors who had good connections.
Yes.
So they were able to set up meetings with various MPPs so I could discuss my concerns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for my community for allowing me to do that. And for the most part, the MPPs I spoke to two of them, and it was an email conversation with another. They were open to listening to us. However, I got the sense it was just a meeting to have more meetings in the future. Yeah. So there's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape, and you don't really feel like you're getting anywhere at all. Yeah. It's almost like they're like having a meeting to placate you and go, yes, we've heard your concerns. Thank you so much for showing up, and let's move on to the next stage, right? Yeah. It's unfortunate because like I know a lot of people besides myself had put a lot of effort in their presentations towards the government, and I don't know if they spoke out of term. They would promise us that we would push our presentations up the chain of command. Okay. So I know for myself, we did a whole YouTube presentation showing the safety of our school to give an idea how we could train martial arts safely, 6 feet apart, on a bag, etc., etc. And on YouTube, you could track how many times that video has been watched.
Yes.
And how much percentage that video has been watched. So I was promised that my video would be shown all over this board and to the finance minister and yada, 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 yada. When I actually looked at the video to look at the stats for this YouTube video, it was watched once. It was watched once at maybe 10-15% of the video.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea of how serious they would take our concerns. And we put our paperwork forward, how seriously they took it. Yeah. I was lucky to work with Waco on a small scale. I'm putting together return to play protocols for the sport. So Mozamo Nawaz of Waco, the president, he did a great job of formulating a great team. I was one of the non-PSO representatives because I have one of the largest clubs. Yeah. To sit on that board and to offer my opinion. It was great, and I feel really bad for Waco because again, they faced a lot of roadblocks from the other martial arts community. Sometimes the martial arts community doesn't want to work with each other. Yeah. It's really, really tough. We're our own worst enemy. But also, too, again, when they presented their ideas, the ministry seemed to be more interested in mainstream sports over combat sports. Yes. So they're more interested in hockey, basketball, high cash flowing sports.
Well, it's interesting how they don't consider it, but then when you have special athletes like George St. Pierre, they want to jump all over it. But then they don't want to support it in the other times. You know what I mean? It's like yeah. But like I've had similar experiences that you just experienced. Like I'll give you an example because in my area, I live at Yonge and Eglinton, so there's like a ridiculous amounts of construction and nonsense going on. Some people are getting hit by cement trucks and all that kind of shit. And we have our MPP, and I'll call him out. Fuck that guy, Josh Matlow. He's a piece of shit. And so I've had numerous conversations with his office, and trying to just get change because I have 2 little kids, and we have this area. This area is so dense with these construction, and so I have very big concerns. Sometimes I live on a one-way street, which means in normal world, don't fucking drive the other way down the street. But you have cement trucks, driving the other way because they don't want to go the other way because there's more construction on that street and it's hard for them to make the turn. Well, I don't give a fuck. if you hit my kid, I'm coming after you,
Yeah, for
right?
sure. For
And
sure.
so these concerns I brought up, and their office kind of just like you said, they're like, yeah, great, we're gonna put it up there, but it ends up getting shoved to the side.
Yeah.
And he's more interested in, this particular guy is more interested in showing up
Oh,
on CB24,
yeah.
getting his TV spots, than actually doing shit in the community. And I'll publicly call him out because I don't care. Right, that's the kind of person I am, and I will do it to his face if I see him again. But he doesn't show his face anywhere because he doesn't want those conversations.
Yeah, yeah. And I agree with you totally. Like, I remember like a long time ago, I got a rude awakening how politics kind of work. When we're trying to legalize MMA,
Yeah.
and Chris Bonafoco had visited those meetings with me, I was stunned to hear the representatives from the government. So they would sit there and say, "We're holding this meeting. We're going to listen to your concern, but we're probably not going to listen to you." Yeah, but at least this guy was like, he had that clarity to like he was honest with us. But I was shocked, and like, you know what? It made me realize like, oh yeah, that's what this is. It's basically like he's here to show face. He's showboating and everything. Here I am. Da da da. I'm gonna listen to you, but in all sincerity, we're probably not gonna really do what you ask or even consider what you're thinking whatsoever. So, and some of the people I spoke with, like our MPP reps and everything, I was disconcerted to see how tied in they are with the pharmaceutical businesses.
Yeah.
Like they were like every day was pictures with pharmaceutical companies, this and that. I'm not saying like they're tied in together, but like like to
They
certain
are.
degree, that's
They
their
are.
interest. That's where maybe their money's coming from.
Yeah.
It's really sad, right? And a lot of these things on their Instagrams and stuff like that, it's just basically to show to get more votes. They're not really concerned for us whatsoever. So it was sad to like have these discussions. I was invited for a third one. I go, listen, let's not waste each other's time. These are my concerns. I have an influence over 500 members. We'll be watching you, yada, 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 yada. So, try to do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
But it sucks. It sucks. I don't really think they're there for the community at all.
No, and I think maybe this is a good opportunity for people to realize that your vote does matter
It
going
does.
forward.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of this too. I'll publicly admit it. Like when I was in my teens and early 20s, I didn't give a fuck. I was
Yeah.
just like,
You know what I mean?
well, whatever. Like my mom and dad, they vote liberal. I'll vote liberal because they vote, or I wouldn't even show up, right? And as I get a little older, I'm not even that old, but as I get older, I'm realizing, you know what? These people, especially as this pandemic unfolded, these people are making decisions for me and your family,
Your
and
future, your kids.
my future,
Yeah.
and I don't really trust this person now.
Yeah.
And maybe I actually voted for him, like Dougie Doug. Fuck it, I voted for him, and boy do I regret it. But the
Mm.
options are fucking limited, right? So like these people where you're voting for, they're making decisions for you, your family, how you eat, right? And
Yeah.
especially like here's what bugs me about this whole situation is they label things essential and non-essential, right? Well, motherfucker, that's how I eat, so it's essential.
Yeah.
It's essential to me.
Yeah.
Just because your fat ass, and I'm calling Doug for it, your fat ass
Yeah.
doesn't
Sure,
go
I
to the
agree with
gym.
you, man.
You've never been in a gym in your life, so you don't understand the the rewards and the amount of work and effort and things that go into it to make people and communities healthy. Just because you don't understand it doesn't make it not essential. And it hurt my heart to be able to,
Yeah.
for 16 months, to walk around seeing people be able to get drugs and alcohol
I agree.
and burgers,
Yeah.
right? But it was illegal to do fitness. And even like last night, we were sparring technically illegally, right? And we said, "Hey guys, this next week this won't be illegal. We can spar in we can
It's
spar in
ridiculous.
public."
It's totally ridiculous. We're like we're the new mafia. We're the new crime lords now. We're all
Yeah.
hiding now. Everyone is hiding doing their thing now, right? It sucks. It's totally crap.
Well, this is like a random question. Do you think that going forward it would drive a lot of fitness businesses, like so to speak, underground? Like, do you think a lot of people will be training privately as opposed to in a gym going forward?
No, I think like for sure. Like I think just backtracking when I talked to the MPPs a bit, I said you guys did a great job with demonizing and destroying our industry.
Yeah.
So you guys have shut us down so long and made it seem like we're the enemy that most people are going to be afraid to come into a fitness, any kind of fitness studio, martial arts, yoga, dance, whatever kind of sport, right? Because you guys have done a great job destroying our community, even though less than 3% of COVID cases came from our particular industry, like the fitness industry. Maybe even less than 3%, right?
Probably less, I would say.
Yeah, probably less, right? And so you guys did a good job of doing that, destroying us, yada, yada, yada. So I think there's going to be a certain clientele, for whatever reason, are afraid to step into a martial arts academy, whatever.
Yeah.
I do think, though, there's going to be a new breed of people who are going to say, fuck it, I can't wait to get back into fitness and martial arts, whatever.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see the changes where, I've seen this a lot now, most club owners now are a little bit savvy now. And now they're going to get prepared now to prepare for other revenue streams, prepare for their future, are going to leave the country, et cetera, et cetera. So in one retrospect, it's good because it kind of like slaps some business owners to go, hey, you know what? You need to start taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes martial arts club owners, fitness owners, they don't realize that to a certain degree, like a fighter's lifestyle, this could be a limited time span on your body.
Yeah.
You need to start thinking about other revenue streams. You need to start thinking about this as an actual business.
Yes.
So I think that's the good thing that came out of this. It's like, okay, wow, I don't want to retire and eat dog food like some guys are in the States.
Yeah.
I need to really get my act together and think about other ways to make my school profitable if this stuff happens to me again.
Yes.
And it probably will happen to us again. You know, we accepted it as Canadians. Hate to say this, guys, sorry. We're a little bit weak. You vote and you settle for the government you want. I'm sorry to say that. I was born in Canada, so I could actually say that.
Yeah.
But you actually kind of like accepted it, guys. You really, really did.
Weak is a kind word. We're pussies. Yeah, we're pussies.
We just took it. We just took it, right? So for people complaining out there, look in the mirror because your actions every day support a particular government system. And I know that's a really harsh statement to say, but it's really, really true. I'm not saying you should have to like throw Molotov cocktails at the bylaw office and stuff like that. Yeah. But like I'm trying to say, like, if you just accept it and cow down because the government told you and you're not willing to think for yourself, there's a real problem there. And it's disconcerting to see the masses thinking like that. It really, really is. So going back, so I'm going off on a tangent. No, I think honestly, we're going to get different people come into the club and they're going to be the kind of people that we want, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
And then secondly, too, as a business owner, you got to start thinking now, what are different ways I can make income?
Yeah. Well, that Bill's like you pretty much covered what I was going to ask anyway, but I wanted to kind of build on that. Do you think that, like, you know, we're going into this stage 3, we're going to open, and in my opinion, I don't think it's over yet. I think we're still at risk for further shutdowns and stuff. But do you see, I know that you're in contact with a lot of other gym owners. Do you see that there's going to be more bankruptcies going forward? Oh, yeah. Even though you get open, it doesn't mean that you're bringing in cash yet, right? So can we expect more of our favorite clubs to, you know, unfortunately fizzle away? Is that what
I think you're gonna see a lot of service industry related businesses shut down because like the attitude is like they think like, again, I'm like talking to our MPPs and everything and various government officials. They think they're gonna open the doors and kabam, everyone's gonna come in with loads of money and throw it at our face.
Yes,
it's not gonna happen that way because again, remember, some people are a little bit hesitant because the media and government has done a great job of putting fear into the people. So people are going to be hesitant to walk into any kind of service industry out there, all right? Secondly, too, we don't know if people even have the money. Like some people have really logically lost their jobs. And then also, too, as we move on, we're seeing that our subsidy, our help from the government is going down. Yeah. So they already been telling us they're going to start cutting out support. They're cutting out wage support, et cetera, et cetera. So what's going to happen to us? We're hoping that we're going to get those customers coming into our front door, which may or may not happen. We really, really don't know what's going to happen. Do I think that we're going to be shut down again? Unfortunately, I do feel that's the case.
Yes,
and I do feel we're going to expect more service-related industries to be affected and possibly go bankrupt. I agree with you. This is not over. And I think a lot of people have to be, I'm not going to say take their head out of their ass, but maybe that's a good phrase to put it. But like, they're kind of like, oh yeah, you know what? We got 50% capacity. We have this and this, and you know, we're back to normal. That's not back to normal. And just because they're generous to give this back to us,
yes,
I don't think that fixes the situation. That doesn't give me back my 16 months. And we basically now allowed the government to do whatever they want to us.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of time before they do it again, and we're going to sit there and accept it. I think people have to sit there and realize that we've set the trend to kind of like spiral out of control in the future.
Yeah.
And that's like when this pandemic happened, I was against locking down. Like I think most majority business owners are against locking down,
Yeah.
not just the martial arts industry. And the reasons why is because why? We want to like see the reasons why. We want to see the stats. We want to see the science, the real science behind what's going on here. Not
when
just
when it came out, it didn't support the lockdowns.
right, not just cherry picking your sources, right? There's other sources out there that we could actually look at. And why can't we look at those sources, right?
Yeah.
What's the issue here, right? If it's that dangerous, it's that dangerous. But let's get everyone's opinions on what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
Not just one source of information. And then the challenge here is like now that we trust the government and we allow them to do whatever they want, they could do this at any time. And that's my main concern. The first time I was like, we'll see, we'll go along with it. As it went along, it got worse and worse and worse. In particular, selfishly speaking, my industry.
Yeah.
But it's going to set the record and set the trend for the future. And I think people should be really concerned about that.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. Like people think I'm naive, but if you look, they don't pay attention to the small details. Like for example, Doug Ford has the emergency powers to December 3rd, meaning that between now and December 3rd, if cases went up to 500, back to stage 2, right? So he within a snap of the finger, he can change anything. And I thought it was interesting. The other day I was doing some pads with my head coach, Coach RG, and I was asking him about, are you going to open when this comes to say? He said, depends on the capacity. I'm like, well, what if you run like an indoor and an outdoor class? He's like, I'm not doing the outdoor shit. I'm like, why not, coach? He's like, why would I go outside when I pay rent inside?
That's true.
I pay rent for a building and a roof. And you're telling me that I can't use the building and the roof, so I gotta go outside. He's like, and his Jamaican accent, like, and he's right. Like, until people wake up and realize you're paying rent for an indoor facility, but the government is telling you you can only use outside. Outside's free anyway, so why the fuck am I paying rent? Does it make sense? Exactly. The logic. I think there's a big disconnect between people's logical thinking and what's really going on, because they're obsessed with the media. They're turning on media. It's filling their head, and critical thinking in this last year has really took a decline for lack of.
And people like chastise critical thinking too, because like critical thinking, like people forget about the whole idea of arguing and critical thinking.
Yeah.
Having an argument or discussion of critical thinking is not really trying to make someone else agree with you. That's not the case. Yeah. It's just presenting the ideas entirely so everyone can see exactly, being transparent as to what's going on. And you're not really trying to convince someone else. That's not really necessarily what you're trying to do. You're just trying to make decisions for yourself with all the information that is presented to you transparently. Yeah. And that's the biggest issue there that people just understand, right? I think like another concern too that some people don't realize is that social media has a big play on this. Yeah. And some people have forgotten, like, the stuff they say to people on social media, they would never say in the room with that person. 100%. And I'm not saying like we're going to punch the guy in the face. No. But if you saw how this person was actually being affected by the possible loss of business, he can't feed his children, he can't feed his family, his passion, his role is going down the toilet, you would probably have a little bit more empathy and sympathy despite what you put on the computer going, oh, you know what? You should toe the line, trust the government, da-da-da-da-da. Well, you know what? You should have a conversation with that person face to face in the same room. Yeah. And it's totally different. For example, people are saying that, oh, restaurants have curbside. They could survive. They have curbside. They'd be all right.
Curbside's bullshit.
Okay. Has anyone actually spoken to a restaurant owner?
Yeah.
I have. Some of my clients actually own restaurants. I went to do my part. I'm not a rich guy to buy food for them. And I would ask them, honestly, how much does curbside actually contribute to your bottom line? Less than 10%.
Yes.
Less than 10%. So when people say these off the cuff these comments, I go, where are you getting that knowledge from? Yeah. There's outside information, inside track. It's like you as a fighter. Yeah. Someone goes, oh, I could do what Ashton does. He's not that tough. Yeah. Okay. Why don't you come on my side of the fence and try to do what I actually do? Well, instead of being an armchair warrior and talking about it, right?
So using critical thinking, if And this is what I did when, like, if you look at a restaurant, say you serve fucking nachos all the time, like one of your big. I'm trying to tell you right now, delivery nachos are shit.
Yeah, yeah,
By the
soggy.
time, so
Yeah,
no one's fucking ordering that from you, right?
yeah,
Or like take a bigger chain like the Keg. Like the steak still probably tastes good, but I want that steak on my plate, fresh off the grill. I want to see it wiggling right off
yeah.
the. I don't want it 30 minutes later. It's not the
The
same
sizzle,
food.
the sizzle is what sells the steak,
Yes,
not the steak. When you hear that sizzle, when you could smell it coming from the kitchen, that's what's selling it, not
exactly.
really the steak in front. And people forget that kind of stuff, right? If you go to a restaurant, look at the experience. You sit down, you eat, and then maybe you go, I want a beer. I don't have a coffee. I don't have a dessert. You won't have that during takeout.
No,
That's not the same mentality.
no, it's
So
not.
restaurants lost a lot of money. I really really feel for them a lot.
Yes,
And I think like also too there's I'm not gonna say privilege, but whatever. There's some people who unless it directly affects you, you don't know.
no.
Honestly, you don't know. So
I
there's some
see.
people on high
It's in
horses.
my family too. Like I've had these
Yeah,
conversations where I'm not gonna expose in my family who the fuck it is, but they don't have anything through this whole situation that's affected them other than the fact that they had to stay home more.
right.
Right? Their money was fine, their life was fine. They just had to stay home more, and they were using Zoom. And like for example, me and my wife, I did really well in this time, not because um, well, because I'm a grinder, right? I refuse to stop. I put myself
Right.
in harm's way. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
My wife's industry, she's a hairstylist, got absolutely smashed.
Yeah.
She was on mat leave. She couldn't go back to work. There's nothing to go back to right now.
Yeah.
Even now that they're reopened, there's nothing to go back to. So, and if I didn't do so well, and if I wasn't so driven and determined, and going to people's houses after 2 days after
Starve.
surgery and doing what I did, we would have
Yeah.
been in a shit
Starve.
position. We would have been
Mhm.
starving. I have two young kids. They have no clue what's going on, but they would have been
Yeah.
like, why aren't we have food in the cupboard, right?
Yeah.
And if I didn't do, and so put it this way, I did that, but not everybody can do that. They don't have that same accessibility, or maybe their industry doesn't allow for that to happen. Like for
Right.
example,
Right.
restaurants,
Right.
you can't cheat restaurants. So
Yeah.
there's a huge disconnect between people who weren't affected and people who were, and there are so many people who are affected, and it's almost like people don't care anymore. Oh, the jobs
Yeah.
numbers come out, big deal, right?
Exactly, and like I think like too, like you said, like people would always tell me like, "Oh, the government's helping you," and I would actually have to write out the math for them to explain what that help looks like.
Yeah,
So like there is a huge disconnect, and I think like people have to be very careful what they read on social media, and what they get from the MSM and stuff like that. Because if you really want to know if it's really like if you really care, and that's the thing, right? Are you like do you care? If
yeah,
you don't, be honest with yourself. Like maybe you don't give a shit, and at least you're honest with yourself, right?
yeah.
But if you really care what's going on with your instructor or with your favorite restaurant, go ask them. Go actually speak with them. And
Yeah,
people forget that as a community, if you really actually care, get off your ass, call that person up and talk to them and have an educated discussion with that person and see
100%.
how they're dealing with this particular situation. Because most people just don't know. They're just kind of like, they're going with the government saying like, oh, we're giving rent subsidy, we're doing this, this, and that. If
Yeah,
you truly knew what that was and you wanted to switch places with that person, you too will be doing what we're doing,
yeah,
doing underground ninja stuff, et cetera, right?
yeah.
So I think there's a really big, huge disconnect, to be honest.
Well,
There's a large one.
social media is the real pandemic, in my opinion. I think
Yeah,
it's brought out an ugly side of a lot of people. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I kind of see it
yeah,
too at the start of this. I'd say in the first 4 or 5 months, especially within the clubs that I train at, I saw a lot of friction between people. Like stuff people were saying, like you said, they wouldn't say to me in the gym, right? But they would, and you're free to express your opinions. I don't give a shit. But it was
mhm,
very confrontational. So what I did personally was I just kind of eliminated those people off of my social media,
mhm,
because what was happening was every time I opened it, it became toxic, and
mhm.
I was getting angry, and in order for, these aren't bad people, right? They're
No,
not bad human beings. I've known them for so long, but because I'm seeing these opinions and we're clashing on, and for most part they were being more aggressive towards me than I to them. I don't want to hate you. I don't want to dislike you. I still want to be your friend. I still want to be a good person to you. So I had to get rid of them.
Until you
So
get on the mat. No, I'm
yeah,
joking.
no, I had to get rid of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, off of all those extra social media and all that stuff
Right.
in order to preserve those relationships. But I wanted to ask you is if, you know, do you think that, I know it's not just happening to me, it's happening everywhere. Do you think that will spread over into the clubs and different fitness gyms and still and with those opinions? Because I'm kind of seeing it right now with these vaccine passport thingies.
Yeah, yeah. I think like the most important thing to remember is like I think social media, you're right, Ashton, does really affect it. I'm actually going to do a talk with this with some of our young leaders and everything. There is empathy in social media, and there are two things that basically that affect us. Number one, like you said before, like you wouldn't be saying this stuff to this person if you're actually in the same room with you.
Yeah.
You could discern. Remember, like communication is much more than just words. There's body language, intonation,
Yeah.
stuff like that. The energy we give each other, proxemics, how close we are to each other. That stuff really matters a lot in a conversation relationship. So you would not say that stuff in person, right? It would be maybe a little bit different because you're having a conversation.
Yes.
That's a problem with social media. The second thing is too, it's so easy to make a comment nowadays. Before a long time ago, my age, we didn't have phones. We had like this, like a crank to like dial up and call someone up.
Yeah.
Or you would have to go. You have a problem with me? You have to run 10 blocks to go find that guy and beat him up or have a discussion with him.
Yeah.
In other words, we had time. We had time to go, let me think about this. Ashton said this thing about me. Well, did he really mean that? Before I call him up, let me think about what he said. Ashton's not really that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Really? He's my good friend. I'm going to walk over here there. As I'm walking over there, I'm thinking about it, yada, yada, yada. Because it's so accessible to jump on your phone, it's like, oh, I have this opinion, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And you don't really think how that's going to affect the relationship between the two of you.
Yeah.
So I think like number one, there's like lack of empathy because we don't have the interaction face to face. And secondly, too, it's accessible and quick to make these off the cuff remarks without recognizing the repercussions or the effects it's going to have on that person. Now, what I'm trying to get to now is we forget we're not on our phone, and then when they're going to run into that person, and we bring this stuff into interpersonal communication.
Yes.
You know as well as I know, Ashton, that unfortunately, it's something we strive to do with our children. There is a lack of communication skills in our youth and younger people because they're always on their phones.
Yes.
And it's depressing to see that amongst grown men. Grown men are doing that now. Where they think like this is the way to communicate, and heaven forbid if you run face to face with that person, they're like, I don't know how to talk to this person anymore. Yeah, like am I gonna get punched in the face? So people have to remember that sooner or later we're gonna run into each other, and we're gonna have communication skills.
Yes.
People are too much on their phones, and they actually forget the skill of discussing things. Also, to recognizing like just be kind. Like honestly, people are allowed to have different opinions than you.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit who's right or wrong?
Yeah.
He's still your friend. He's still a good person.
Well, the old phrase, agree to disagree. You know,
yeah.
You don't like. Well, to build on what you just said is one thing I have to build on that is like also too when you're communicating via social media or text. I get into this argument with my wife all the time because she'll send me a message
and it's safer.
I'll send her a message back, and then I get home and she's like, "You were so rude on the phone." And I'm like, no, I wasn't rude. I was just quick. I had a second, and I just and it's you can't convey tone over text or in tone is not there. So sometimes people get offended by a period. You put a period, full stop. Well, no, I was just doing proper sentence grammar. But there, like a period, full stop sometimes means like you're being aggressive. I'm like, no. Just fucking doing doesn't press the period. That's what they taught me when I was in elementary school. You put a period at the end of the sentence, but apparently that just shows aggression. So there's no tone conveying online, right? Whereas I could be saying something as a joke and it's not taken as a joke and it gets taken way out of context. And I feel like that's carrying over too. And the other thing is like I don't know how we got to this point where if two people have a difference of opinion, we have to fight about it, right? Whereas I'm of the belief, like, I don't care if you like I'll use politics as an example. If you're on the right or on the left, the whole point of being in a democratic free society is you talk about it.
Yeah.
You have your difference of opinions. Mm-hmm. You're totally entitled to your way. I'm entitled to my way. If they don't meet, big fucking deal. Agree to disagree. You're still a
Exactly.
good dude. You're still a great person. You're still
Yeah.
a nice lady. I don't care. Let's still be friends. And that's a lot of
Exactly.
the people I work with. They have different views than me. But I'm not going to go and try to push my views on them. I have my views. You have your views. You have
Exactly.
different issues.
Exactly.
Let's talk about it. If we don't agree, big fucking deal. On your way.
Yeah, and you know what? I think people forget that. Like when we just have discussions, we're not here to really convince the other person. We're both actually learning.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what's your argument? What's your points and everything? What's your discussion points? These are my discussion points. Ah, that's pretty good. I don't have to think about it. I don't necessarily agree with it right now. I'm gonna marinate on that idea. Maybe in the future I agree or disagree. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I don't really care because I still need to like work and put food on my kids' table. I got bigger issues
Yeah, exactly.
than discussions sometimes, right? So I think some people like they get like maybe that's their whole life. Maybe they got nothing better to do. I think another thing too is like especially during this time, this got really exacerbated for a lot of people is their self talk.
Yeah.
And this has really been like a mental health issue before COVID, right? We all have to be conscious of our self talk, right? And we all have this issue to certain or less degrees, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this guy sent me this. Does he hate me? Does he da 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 da?
Yeah.
And then right away, the self talk starts to spiral to negativity. Why can't it be the opposite? He sent me this. Maybe he's busy. Maybe it's a joke. I'm gonna talk with him, laugh about it, and we'll have a good guffaw about it, right? People have a tendency to take something and literally blow it out of context because their self-talk is just spiraling out of control.
Pushing their own narrative for like. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could just be like it's just like saying like the world's against me, the whole universe is against me. That may be possible, but it's also possible the world is working for you. The universe is actually moving things in a way. It may not look good for you right now, but it's gonna be better for you in the future. So people have to really be careful about their self-dialogue, how they're actually getting rampant with these crazy ideas and they're manifesting these scenarios in their head. It's not even that. It's just a simple text. It's a simple comment. It may be a person expressing their ideas. They're having a shit day. He's on Facebook and he's got no filter. He's saying some stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's his opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's having a bad day. I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
It's like also too like sorry to go on. Like if someone cuts you off on the road, it's easy to go, what the hell? This guy's trying to kill me. He's trying to kill me. He knows me personally. He hates all Filipinos and it's against Filipinos. He's out to destroy all Filipinos on the road.
Yeah.
Or it could just be like, this guy just got a message from the school teacher. His daughter is sick and he's got to get to the school.
Yeah. And you don't know those situations.
I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I don't care.
As long as you're healthy and living and breathing.
It's all right. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the reason is. It could be maybe he wants to kill all Southeast Asians, or maybe he's actually going to go look after his daughter. It's a real emergency.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the self-dialogue has to stop and go, I'm just going to continue driving my vehicle and get to where I can get to safely.
Well,
so that's what I think people have a problem with the social media stuff. They take it too personally.
Well, it's almost like the classic martial arts teachings. Like when I started training, it was like when you walk through the door, leave everything at the fucking door. Because I can't tell. I'm sure this has happened in your club a million times where you've had a student come in, and normally on a regular day they're a model student. But then there's that 1 or 2, 3 or 4 days where they'll come in randomly and they're just overly aggressive. They're going too hard with other students. And when you sit and actually talk to them, they just had a shitty day. And you have to, really emphasize to them, hey, I don't care what went on over there. I'm sympathetic to the fact that you had a shitty day. But when you walk in these doors, just let it go.
Yeah.
Let those little things go because they don't affect what you're doing right now. It's like Coach G, when he used to tell me, he's like, just live in the moment. Don't stop thinking about your future. Stop thinking about the past. Live in the moment. If you can focus on...
Yeah, G-Ken's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you focus on what you're doing right now, then you're good. Like, that was one of the things when like you said, bionic, man. I've had so many surgeries. Overcoming them, it's like, I'll be in the gym room and I'll be like, well, what if I do that throw again and my knee pops? Well, Ashton, you're fucking healthy right now. Your ACL is intact. Your knee's intact. Stop thinking about things that haven't even happened. Yes. I'm manifesting fear in my head, right? If the biggest thing from this little what we just said is if you can just leave things at the door. Like
Yeah.
Even family. Sometimes I have a hard time when I come home and I have a long day and I walk through the door and I almost want to just vent right away. But I mean, like, they don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
My 3-year-old doesn't care about
Yeah.
any difficulties or whatever. She cares
True,
that
true.
daddy's home. Give her a fucking hug and kiss and be a good
Yeah,
dude. Like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? And I think if we can all do that, then it's a cliche. The world will be a better place. But
Yeah, like there's like also too like you have better sanity in your own mind too. Like you can rest in peace knowing this kind of stuff, right? So like I think that's really important. And unfortunately, like the good thing about maybe COVID, if you were smart enough, you could sit down and have these uncomfortable conversations with yourself. You
yes,
could look in the mirror and go, "Wow, I really have negative self-talk, and it's getting out of control. And how can try to control that?" The bad thing, if you're not aware of it, it could really make life miserable during these 15, 16 months of being locked down.
which it
It could
has
really
for a
spiral out
lot
of
of
control.
people, which it has, right?
Yes, it has, to be honest.
One of the one. This is a totally another topic, but I just want to get back to martial arts now. Like, uh, combat has been around for so long, and it's very rare to find a club that survives all these, like, 20 years. There's not just one or two things. You survived
No.
a whole lot of things. Starting, I believe you started like a Gold's Gym, renting space,
Yep.
and then worked your way up to here. But like, to get there, you need to have something that attracts people and really brings them in. So like, what is like the philosophy and like the teaching styles that have made you guys such a successful business, not just as a business, but like as a martial artist, because you produce a lot of great athletes, a lot of, even if it's just recreational athletes, great recreational and great professional. Like, what is it that made you guys be in business for 20 years serving martial arts? Like, what is that niche that you guys really put into that student that walks through your door?
That's a good question, and thank you for the compliments, by the way. So like when I first started off Combat Arts, it was for selfish reasons, like probably for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have a car. I loved all martial arts, so I wanted to attract all these great instructors under one roof, and I wanted to like just learn from them. So
Yeah.
that's what basically the reason was. Like I attract these instructors. It's from Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's martial arts philosophy,
Yeah.
which was basically the way I interpret Jeet Kune Do as a concept, which is modern day mixed martial arts. Is I wanted to study all these different martial arts and really study them and take what works for me and add it to my personal style of fighting, the
Yes.
art of
Yeah.
martial, right? And so I attracted all these instructors to work for me, and I wanted to be with them as much as possible. And at the time, right, I noticed that a lot of martial arts schools, they had sucky business sense. They're crap when it came to business. And even still, even now, some of them are really crap. There are some really good highlighted schools that I work with. They're
Yeah.
amazing for business. And the reason being is because like I looked at them, I go, you know what? I don't want to learn from them. I looked at other industries. So to
Yes.
be totally honest with you, Ashton, like a lot of my business sense never came from the martial arts industry. At first, it came from watching other industries, fitness industries, restaurant industries, how they treated their customers, how they treated their clientele,
Yeah.
their processes, etc., which is really, really important. Martial arts had no processes. We just kind of like, give me money and I'm gonna go spend it on a new gi. It
Yeah.
just didn't work for the future of the business. So
Yeah.
I actually learned from other industries, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
All right. I never looked at the martial arts industry. So number one was I like to learn from different martial arts. I like to learn from different industries. And then also when it came to training my athletes, at first I never looked at, it was really hard to find good teachers in our area. It was really far apart. Now you can
Yeah.
find almost a black belt in every corner.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily a good black belt, but a black belt everywhere. It was really hard to find experienced instructors. So I looked at other sports. I looked at how Olympic athletes trained.
Yeah.
And I found that when it came into martial arts, there was a lot of things lacking. As I'm sure you could attest to this.
Yes. 100%.
Proper training methodology, how to train your energy systems, like, how to train cardio, how to do proper weight cutting,
Yeah.
sports psychology, how to like fix your body repair. It was totally lacking in the martial arts world. So I moved on to other industries. I moved on to see what other sports had to offer. So that's what I did for myself. So I kind of stole from everyone else.
Well,
So
you
totally,
didn't steal. You were just logical, because that's how other, like, if you look at big business, that's how they operate.
yeah,
The people are like, one of the great things about the last 2 years. Like, I'm heavily investing. Like, so I constantly am looking at balance sheets, and
yes,
I'm looking at business models and companies that they work with and companies
Right.
that like big companies like for I'll just use an example like Walmart. Who are they partnering with
Yeah,
and
yeah.
other different revenue streams that all contribute to the end result earnings, right? Uh,
Right.
and so that's one of the big things that I see a disconnect in martial arts industry is, and probably what's leading to some of them going to be bankrupt is that they didn't have that business sense that yes, you're teaching martial arts, yes, you're teaching people defense and get empowering them, but you're not empowering yourself in terms of your finances, right?
Yeah,
And
like there's like you've heard of the E Myth, right, by Michael Gerber and everything. There's a
yes,
lot of great technicians out there, a lot of great martial arts instructors, but they don't know how to run a business.
yes,
All right, and there's two different skill sets, right? And this was a harsh thing for me to learn. I learned this erroneously the hard way. There's a lot of stories I can tell you about this, but it did take a toll on me. So like even if you don't know what you're doing, you have to hire someone to teach you what's
yes,
going on, right? And there's no shame in that whatsoever. And I think what helped me a lot at the time and still to this day is to have a white belt mentality. I'm willing to learn. I'm
yes,
not a black belt, right? Because sometimes, like, if someone told me I'm an expert, that would crush me because it means, like, I feel like, honestly, I know it sounds ridiculous to say that,
yeah,
like, it means, like, have I learned everything? That's
yeah,
kind of boring. I don't. I still practice martial arts to this day. I did, like, ashigarama. I did some, like, leg lock stuff. And I was like, dude, this is, like, really crazy stuff. I love it.
yeah,
But you have to keep learning. And then there was a time when I plateaued business wise. And then I started looking at martial arts clubs who actually are successful. And I go, oh, like they kind of like have passed me. They've passed me now. And what are they doing? And I don't mind talking to them and go, hey, can I pay you, for an hour of your time to figure out what's going on? I
yeah,
don't mind paying for a mentor or their services to get better. So not just like if I'm going to pay someone to teach me how to choke someone out, why wouldn't I pay a mentor for business?
yes,
Especially if I put like food on my kids' plates. So like this is like one of the things I found lacking in the martial arts world. There was a little bit of a black belt ego attitude, not just black belt for I'm not talking about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I mean the black belt mentality,
yes,
that ego, the mindset. And for me, I was hungry to learn from everyone. I wanted to learn from different industries. I talked to different business owners. Ever walked through Club Monaco back in the
yeah,
day? And I saw like this really cool tag and how do you attach it with a safety pin. I go, that's pretty cool. That's pretty innovative. I would take that home and put it on my desk. And I would look and I go, that's pretty cool. I wonder if I could do something with my apparel.
yeah,
When I went to Jamaica, I love the fact that they would do their onboarding process on the bus on the way to
to the
the place,
resort,
right?
yeah,
Which I love because I was like, oh, that's cool. I don't have to wait in line for 2 hours to do the
yeah,
onboarding process. When I walked into my hotel room, the TV turned on. Welcome, Joy to Los Reyes. You're booked for your restaurant. Da 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 da. I go,
yeah,
man, that's so cool. I wonder how I could do that to service my members even better.
yes,
Maybe yes, maybe no. But the good thing is to dream, and maybe the solution is gonna come to me later on. So
yeah,
like I think like as an entrepreneur, so at the time there was no real good accessible mentors when it came to business.
yes,
I read Anthony Robbins. He was my mentor. He didn't know he was my mentor. There's other people that were my mentor, like Tim Ferriss. They were my mentors. They didn't know they were.
yeah,
But I still needed to learn from someone. So, for lack of a better thing, I would go speak to other business owners, other coaches from other sports, Olympic athletes, and see what they were doing. They had a sports psychiatrist. They had people that did osteopathy, chiropractic care, sports training, proper sports training for athletes was
yep,
like coming in. These are things that we never ever knew before, and we need to take seriously now as a martial artist and as a business owner.
yes,
In other words, like when sometimes like trying to solve a problem, when
right,
trying to solve a problem, one thing I've learned, who has solved this problem before?
yeah,
And sometimes it may be necessary to look outside of your personal community, your personal circle of influence, and look outside even your industry at someone else who has solved this problem before. And that's what I try to do.
well, good. Well, that's amazing, and somebody who in the martial arts industry, we all know George St. Pierre.
Yeah,
If you read his book, he
yeah,
says
I have.
exactly the same thing that you said. Like what people don't realize is he's a successful fighter. He made a lot of his money fighting and competing, but he's
Hmm.
also a really savvy entrepreneur and businessman because as he retired, one of the things that he mentioned in his book, he realized he didn't know a lot of stuff. So he started to hire to his weaknesses. He's
Yes,
strong as a martial artist. He's strong as a practitioner and being able to do all those things, but he doesn't know shit. Some of the shit he doesn't know. He spent the last 20, 30 years of his life training, right? So he hasn't been in the business world. He hasn't, been drawing up contracts for sponsorships. So in his book he talks about, I have to hire to my weakness. And
exactly.
and when he says that, he doesn't mean like paying somebody on the hour and giving. He means like, hey, if I don't know anything about social media, why in the fuck would I guess and do waste hours on hours trying to guess on what works when I could just pay somebody some money and get their expertise and expedite that process and turn a zero profit into whatever profit faster instead of sitting here toiling away, stressing out about your stuff. Like, I think in the business world, there's a big thing. It's almost like an ego, right? Where you want to just do things yourself. You're an entrepreneur. You want to do things yourself. You want to
Yeah,
make your business successful. So when people write the book about you, it's like, I did everything myself.
yeah.
Well, newsflash, fuckhead. That's not how it works,
Yeah,
right?
and social media supports that too. Social media really exacerbates that problem because, like, you see guys grinding 24/7. I had 3 hours sleep, and I slept with a coffee in my hand, and I did this all by myself. That's not reality, dude. You know what? Like, to get anywhere, you need a team. And like, for example, I have a special board of advisors. I have an SBA. My
Yeah.
SBA special board of advisors are guys who are better than me. They're my peers,
Yes.
and they own like a CrossFit gym, or they own a martial arts club, or they're not even in my industry at all. And sometimes I'll just call them up and I go, I have this problem. And I'll just discuss the problem with them. And they just listen to my complaints, listen to my problems. And maybe they could give me some solutions, maybe not. But the good thing is, like, I don't always ask people in my industry. I ask someone else who's looking in too, because sometimes
Yes.
those are my customers.
Yeah.
Those are my customers coming in and they're kind of like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be your customer. I would appreciate if you did this when I came in. I would
Yes.
appreciate if this was the process for me. And like, you notice, Ashton, because you're a professional trainer, we have sometimes as a club owner, we have black belt eyes. We
Yeah.
think that people, not you, but people come in and they want to be like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want, like, I'm training twice today, 3 times today. I'm training jujitsu this morning. I have a judo lesson I'm going to run into right now, and I got weights later on tonight. No, nobody wants to be me.
No.
Nobody wants to be like me, right? They want to like train 3 days a week, yada yada yada. But we make the mistake of thinking you want to be like you, and
Yes.
that's not the case. No one wants to get on the ground and have their face punched
Face
in and
punched
elbowed
in.
in. We like that. We think that's fun, right? But because we're whatever messed up in the head.
Yeah.
But the people that are going to help us get better in life, either financially and or as better people,
Yeah.
those are the kind of people that we're trying to attract to come into our club.
Yes.
And we forget that as club owners, right? Or as personal trainers or as business owners.
Yeah. And one of the things I've learned to do was, I would have my clients and I would program. I'd program so
Mm.
this for the next 6 weeks we're doing this workout, this workout, heavy. And what I realized over time was they didn't give a fuck. That
Yeah.
person didn't give a shit about a program and being rigid on the training schedule. When they came to see me or I went to see them, they just wanted a good workout. They wanted a sweat. They wanted a good time, and 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 that's what it was, right? So, and you have to learn that as a trainer, right? And
Yeah. And,
and
and you know too, like you're sometimes like you do a good job actually digging deep as to like how's your day going and stuff like that. And you know what? Like sometimes they'll come to you with the real reason why they came to you in the first place. So like they may come to you and they say like they want sexy abs or they want to know how to like learn martial arts. And the real challenge for them is like self confidence. You know
yeah,
what? There is an issue where they're trying to gain self confidence. And then now you can key in their training now to develop that particular character trait in them.
yeah,
That's really, really, really important. So like I totally agree with you. Like I think like some people they need to look outside of their black belt mentality and be willing to learn from someone else. Like we had a gentleman here who was going into the UFC. He was a really good black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, but he would never get in the ring to spar stand up.
yeah,
And he wouldn't get in the ring to spar stand up because he was put on such a high pedestal, such a high pedestal. Like everyone's like, "Oh, you're the man. You're gonna kill it in the UFC. You're amazing." Da 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 da. And you know what? You're awesome. And they just pushed him up
push
with the
them up.
pedestal and
Yeah,
everything. He did not want to get embarrassed in the ring.
yeah,
He did not want to look like a beginner. So he would get in the ring, and it wasn't anything serious. But sooner or later, when he would get touched up a little bit, he goes, okay. So now I'm gonna do takedowns now. And it's like, dude, that's not really the training session. The training session, you need to work your weakness.
Yes.
You need to work your stand up. But because we have this black man mentality and ego and stuff like that, you don't really want to work on those particular areas. And unfortunately, he didn't really like last long in the UFC.
Yeah. Well,
right?
There's a ceiling to when you have that kind of mentality.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it does affect you.
And one of the last things I want to ask you before I let you go is, given everything that's gone on politically and with the last 16 months, as a successful business owner in this country, has it kind of changed like the way you view like keeping your business open here and operating here? And do you see yourself like staying in Canada over a long time, given the kind of shift that we've had in this landscape? Like it's been a weird for somebody, especially like you. Like for me, my business has only been operational for a few years, but you're, like I said, you're an OG. You've been around and you've seen a lot of things. Like, given all the changes that have happened, do you see like yourself thriving in the future, and do you see yourself even staying here?
Good question. So like, let's backtrack pre-COVID. So pre-COVID, my goal has always been to like build this company up and then to one day, like, pass it off to my students, my coaches, because we need young blood to they have great ideas, they have great training methodology. My hope was to turn this club over to other people. That was my idea pre-COVID. And I wanted to basically retire like 6 months out of the year in Costa Rica or Belize, whatever. That's always been my dream. Now I want to do that faster. Like definitely it's unfortunate. I love Canada, but I feel like it's going down the drain. And definitely I want to leave even sooner. Like I look at your coach, Chris, who's in Belize right now, and I really respect what he did. In fact, I'm trying to get on a call with him because I got offered a job in Belize actually. And I wanted to discuss how living in Belize is right now. So yes, like to be honest, like I don't really like the landscape of Canada right now. And speaking to other gym owners, some of them have already picked up and moved to other countries already. And I can see that actually happening right now. I don't think Canada, specifically Ontario, is a safe place for businesses at all, to be totally honest with you. Like at least my particular industry or any service industry. Secondly, too, pre-COVID, we already saw the trends where they're trying to destroy the middle class and they're trying to destroy entrepreneurs. So a lot of people don't know there's a music tax. So a music tax was basically like, we got to notice that, saying that if you play music in your club, you're going to be taxed for it. And we're like, what? And where does this money go to? And does it go to the songwriter, the owner of the song? And no one can answer us.
They can.
No one can answer this question, right? We want to know where the money is going to, right? Secondly, too, the people that were collecting the tax money wasn't an official government agency. It was a non-for-profit organization that was working with the government. And I go, what's going on here? So we got a bill. We got a bill for $1,000 for 1 month. And they had the audacity to go, we're going to bill you $1,000 because according to your schedule, we checked your schedule online. And by seeing how many classes we have, we think you play this much music in your classes. So ergo, estimated bill is $1,000 unless you can prove otherwise.
Gosh, Jesus.
And I'm like, what? You're going to get taxes $1,000 a month for music for whatever, and you can't tell us where the money's going to? So we got our lawyer involved. And can you find out what's going on here? True enough, it's an actual bylaw or law. It's like 3 pages long, font number 6, and it's like small print, like 3 pages long. It's an actual bylaw or law, whatever you want to call it, right? I was shocked. Yoga classes, Zumba classes, meditation classes.
Everything.
If you have a meditation class and you're playing music, you have to pay taxes on that. And obviously I think it got squashed. We haven't heard anything ever since we contested it because we were like hot and heavy about it. We're like, dude, we're getting a lawyer involved. That's enough.
That's a business killer. That's a business killer.
It's ridiculous to say that, right? But we have seen trends lately where basically, like before COVID, where more taxation, more this and that. Middle class and business owners are getting squeezed every day. And this was basically a huge sledgehammer to us when this happened. So the long and short of it is I don't think businesses, our particular business, service businesses, can successfully do well safely in Ontario. And I'm not surprised that people are literally packing containers and moving to other countries. I'm not surprised by it whatsoever. And for me personally, I'm heading down that path. hopefully sooner than better. But I want to leave Kombat Arts in a good state for my future generation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree 100%. And like, for example, me and my wife are considering the same. And fortunately for us, the way our business is set up, we can kind of move and it doesn't affect us the same way it does you. But
Exactly.
at the same time, it's hard to let go of a country that I've spent 30 years in and I love. My wife's a little bit better because she moved to Australia when she was young and she just picked up and left. So she's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, fuck it, it's a move. We'll just sell some shit and we get out of here." But
yeah,
for
yeah,
me, it's
yeah,
hard. But I feel the same way. I think that it's going to squeeze a lot of people out of here,
yeah.
and and the pieces are going to be left there, and unfortunately, they may not get picked up. Right?
I agree. Like mad respect to Chris Bonafoco and everything. I think like I like to pick his brain and everything, master historian and everything. He knows something we don't know. I gotta watch your podcast,
Yeah.
and I think he knows something that we don't know. And like there's trends. Like we don't learn from history. We just don't. Like you know what? It's just a rude awakening. It just is. And people go, history does repeat itself. We should learn from it. We just don't.
No.
And I think there are worse things to come, honestly, for Canada. And I'm sorry to say that. I try to watch my negative self-talk,
Yeah.
but you know what? Like as a business owner, I can tell you, like the things that have been done to our industry and to as an entrepreneur, they're squeezing us slowly and surely.
Yeah. Well, and 100% I agree with you. But I'll let you go now. I want to just thank you for coming on today. Can you just let everybody know where they can find you and how they can get in touch with you to train with you if they want to in Mississauga?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first and foremost, Ashton, thank you for taking me on the podcast.
No
I love
problem.
talking to the young guys and everything. I think, like, honestly, sincerely, you're like the best younger version of ourselves, the great generation coming out. Guys, do hit up Ashton and everything for training and stuff like that because this is the new breed of guys who are coming out with the best of training. Like, guys like us, we learn the hard way and we're slow to pick up to the game. But Ashton, they're the new generation of instructors. So, guys, do yourself a service. Please reach out to him and train from him because he's got great stuff. Wherever he is in the world, you guys will learn from him. You guys can reach out to me, Joey Combat with a K on Instagram is probably the best way to reach me out. I'm very accessible on social media, good or bad. So it's Joey Combat with a K. You guys can DM me anytime if you want to train with me, yes or no. But I really, really do appreciate you allowing me to come onto your platform and express my ideas and share my philosophy with you guys.
I appreciate you coming on and doing it. It's more of a privilege for me to get to learn from you because you got a wealth of knowledge. And also to all you fucking people out there watching this shit, subscribe, fucking guys. You like and subscribe, like
yeah, guys. Like you know what? Like this guy Ashton's a grinder and everything, and there's stuff like that. He's doing great things. I think you guys are gonna really, really benefit from learning from him. I've been checking out his profile, and I kind of like lurking behind to see what he's doing and stuff. I'm a lurker and everything. I learn from everyone. He's doing some great stuff. I'm hoping him and I can get together to think about some business ideas together. He teach me some stuff too.
Yes,
so guys,
sir.
do yourself a service. Like subscribe to him and everything. Check out his stuff and do follow him on social media too, please, guys.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Cap Kun Cap. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.